I'm not limited to flexed wrist locks in front when I'm in a standing position. I can also use these wrist locks very effectively once I get a subject's hands behind his back. Remember, we had the wrist lock where you press down on the knuckles, bring the elbow up, force the knuckles in, raise your subject to his toes. Now I'm in great position to simply step in and begin to lock up this elbow behind his back. Now notice the transition. I have the elbow up. I've got tension on the wrist. I'm going to keep it there. And basically, I'm in as much control as I need right now of Brian. Push the elbow in slightly, bring the hand up. Now I'm going to secure the elbow right next to my stomach, continuing to pull in on Brian's hand. I've now got two-hand flexed wrist lock in back of Brian, and it's going to make it much easier for my partner to get the other arm back to cuff him, or we can bring him down from this position. One more time through this. The knuckles pressing down, the hand pressing up on the elbow. Buckle the knuckles under so you've got your flexed wrist lock. Then push the elbow forward, and as you bring his hand behind his back in the hammer lock, you also push his elbow against your stomach and pull back on the knuckles of this hand. You've got real stress on the shoulder. You can pull up. Remember, pulling in on this shoulder and pulling up gives you complete control. Also the wrist lock, and I'll show you one more variation on this before we quit this particular section. Once I have the opponent elbow up, hand in a flexed wrist lock position, as I drive this through, I can secure with the opposite hand, reach over, and I have control over this elbow and shoulder from inside his arm. This actually gives me quite a bit more control than I had when the lock was underneath. So making this little transition as you move into a cuffing position gives you a lot more control over the shoulder and the elbow, and you can always apply enough pain compliance to get your subject to do whatever you want him to do. One more time through that one. You've applied pressure down on the knuckles, pushed up on the elbow, brought the arm into a flexed wrist lock. Now you're shifting to your hammer lock position, secure with the opposite hand, reach through, palm down, grab the wrist. Now you've got your subject very, very secure in a standing position. Another thing to keep in mind about this particular lock, you want to smell it being handcuffed for me, is, I'll put this hand on top for now. When you have a subject who's handcuffed, and I don't know about your jurisdiction, but for some reason, our frequent flyers have a habit of getting feisty once they're in handcuffs. My personal theory about it is they think they can sue you if you hurt them when they're in handcuffs, or they don't have to risk their masculinity in an open fight, but they can still not resist and be a pain in the neck once they're in handcuffs. So considering this flexed wrist lock, I'm simply reaching through and grabbing this cuffed hand, pressing against my chest, and now this feisty person here who's now feeling pressure from the handcuffs on his wrist, he's also feeling pressure on the wrist lock itself, and if I need to, I can force both hands up, increasing pressure on his shoulder. I am minimizing his willingness to continue to fight at this point. So one more time, my subject is handcuffed, he's starting to get feisty, my normal transport position is starting to fail me. I'm just going to reach through the hole, grab over his thumb, press this elbow into place under my ribs or in my chest, and now begin to put pressure against this wrist, pulling on the handcuffs, pulling on the wrist tendons, and then if I want to, I can also bear up on the shoulder and put some severe stress here. It's all incremental pressure, so I don't have to damage my subject all at once. Keep in mind, these locks are designed so they give you increasing pain compliance as you apply the pressure.